Good morning. Set everything up okay. Yep, Thursday morning. Welcome to another day of lockdown lessons. I hope everyone's been enjoying the lessons so far. If you have any comments or feedback from the series that I've done since I started back, I think this is lesson 19, so that's 4 weeks almost we've been going again. So if you want to, I don't know, write something down, put it in the community group and Facebook, and maybe one of the lessons that you really enjoyed, and just post it in a message to the group, because maybe some people are in there and they haven't seen that lesson. So it might be a nice opportunity to kind of generate a bit of conversation. If you're watching right now, please comment and say hi, who you are, where you're watching from. How you found the lessons this week is also very interesting to me. I've had a couple of really lovely comments, people finding some kind of new movements with their hands, people finding some of the stuff challenging, especially what we did yesterday with this. Today's lesson is going to be a lot more gentle, but it's going to be maybe challenging in terms of the imagination of it. So yesterday, one of the comments I received was that the fingers felt like they went down to the root of the hand. And I'd been planning to do a lesson around this subject for a while, because one of the things that I studied recently kind of made me think or relate the movement of the palm to the Tai Chi principle. Great, I'm glad you're enjoying them. Yeah, so this Tai Chi principle of kind of drawing, and the description they use it is like as if the palm area can kind of have this ability to be soft and to draw in, like it's receiving. And like the example they use is, like there's a video, I'm sure I can find a video and post it in the group, of an old Chinese guy kind of holding a sparrow in his hand, and the sparrow isn't actually able to generate enough energy to push off, because every time the sparrow pushes down with its legs, the guy softens the palm of his hand to kind of take the force away from the bird, so he can't actually jump out. So what I was connecting it to is this area of the hand, and the ability for this area to become softer. So I'm not sure if this is something that people feel like they need, if this is kind of really addressing something that people are aware of that they have an issue with. But for myself, feeling this part of the hand really gives me an inroad into feeling a softer wrist. So I called the lesson Soft Paws, because in some way, originally we used to walk on our hands, so that there's this kind of dynamic between how the palm contacts the floor and how stable the wrist is. So I hope that's an interesting introduction for you all. Yeah, if you're watching right now, please say hi. Don't know if there's any other announcements I've got. No, I'm good. So yeah, when you're ready, I'd like you to, this is going to be quite a subtle lesson, as I have a lot of the lessons this week. So again, it's another opportunity. Maybe you could treat it a little more like a meditation. Hi, Mary Helena. Nice that you're watching. So yeah, maybe you could treat this a little more like a meditation, kind of, within that sort of like rich imagination, neurological change, kind of fluid state. So when you're ready, I'd like you to come to a comfortable position to sit in. Get my mic a bit closer. And take a moment to just arrive on the chair. If you're doing this lesson in lying, if you're changing the lesson for your own situation, that's completely okay. I encourage it. But I'm going to teach it in sitting. So anyone that's sitting, find a comfortable place to sit down and just notice how your body is. Notice the sense of comfort or the sense of support that you get as you sit down. Maybe you can feel in your body there's like little niggles or aches and pains, areas of you that kind of speak up first. Like they always say, like bullies are the loudest, right? So there might be areas of your body that are, making a lot of noise. So as you sit there, maybe just change your attention off those places that are making a lot of noise. If you need to, you can always change your position. If you want to sit back or sit more forwards, change it to your own comfort. And then when you're ready, I'd like you just to bring your attention to your breathing. Just to feel in sitting, you're supported, you're safe. How does your breath open up? And how do you expire? How do you get rid of air as you breathe out? And then very gently, very slowly, I'd like you just to bring your fingers together. Bring all of your fingers. And we're just going to look at the right hand today, I think, as thinking about timing. Bring all of your fingers together. So you're going to have your hand resting in your lap. And you're just going to open your hand, bring all of your fingers together, and then open them out all at the same time, very gently. Good. Just do that movement a few times. Become familiar with it and see if you can coordinate the fingers. So they're all coming together at the same time and they're all opening at the same time. I posted on my own sort of feed this quote that I really love from Thomas Merton, and let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so the quote is, "Happiness is not a matter of intensity, but of balance, order, rhythm, and harmony." So for me, that's a really interesting thing to think about. So as you make that movement, what I'd like you to do is just get the fingers of your other hand, and just gently touch in your palm. Just gently touch in your palm. So you're going to continue to make this movement with the other hand. Maybe you want to just use 2 fingers or 1 finger so that you're not getting in the way of the movement of the fingers. But just continue to make this movement of the fingers so that they're all coming together. And notice, and as they're all coming apart, notice that the palm, the area that you're resting your finger, is gently receding and then gently pushing forwards. See if you can begin to organize the movement of the fingers by opening up the palm and then drawing back the palm. Just do it very gently to begin with. Opening the palm and drawing back the palm. So what you're looking for is this sense that the palm itself is actually doing the organizing of the fingers. That's what's giving the fingers their sense of unification. If you're trying to move the fingers individually, it's like you've got to organize more elements. Whereas if you come into the kind of center, the proximal part of the hand, and you organize the movement, the fingers will just come along for the ride. There's less to organize. So just do that movement a few times. Just feel that area kind of receding and then pushing forwards. And your hand is resting on your lap. Your other finger or 2 fingers are just in the palm of that hand that's working. Notice how that area is coming forwards and then coming back. A few more times. Good. And then have a little rest. So if you think about this area, so obviously we've got what we understand as the fingers, but there are bones that join from the base of the finger and come back down to what they call the carpal bones, which are a set of 8 or 9 bones. I can't remember exactly. In the bit where the hand joins into the wrist, or the fingers join into the wrist. So what you've got is these areas of the palm that actually relate to the fingers. So there's bones that come down, bones that come down, bones that come down, okay? And they come down into the root of the hand. So what I'd like you to do is, as you sit there, see if you can very gently just move initially from the base of the thumb inwards. From the base of the thumb inwards, and just see if you can find the kind of movement within the palm, the movement within the palm that the thumb is making, and just very gently do this. Hi, Louise. Morning. So you're just kind of feeling your hand is resting on your lap, and you'll just see if you can move this part of the palm. Yeah, it's like you're not moving the finger. Your attention is not on the finger. You're just moving the palm. Just very gently. Once you've done that a few times, move to the little finger. Move to the little finger. It's another one that's quite easy to sense the differentiation of. And what I want you to do again is not move from the finger itself, but move from the ball of the finger and see if you can kind of move the little finger, this part of the palm. Can you move that inwards? So your hand is resting and you're just moving that little finger side of the palm inwards, as if it's kind of heading towards the thumb in some way. Good. And then once you've done that a couple of times, begin to move the thumb and the little finger together. The thumb and the little finger together. So don't worry so much about the fingers. You're not worried about whether the fingers are touching or whether the fingers are coming together. They obviously will. But what I want you to feel is that these kind of 2 points of the palm can begin to come together. They can organize and come together and then separate, come apart. Just try it a few times. Again, this is kind of subtle movement within the palm itself. If you, again, think back in our evolutionary past and, that the hands would have been part of our walking pattern, that this area of the palm would have been very capable of taking weight and maneuvering and changing position on the floor. And in some way, as we've moved to two-legged creatures, our palms have stopped using that function, but it doesn't necessarily mean the function is not there anymore. Good. And then what I'd like you to do is move on. So move on and see if you can find the ring finger, the ball of the ring finger, which is this one, fourth finger, and see if you can bring in towards the thumb, the ball of the ring finger. Bring it in towards the ball of the thumb and then separate those two out. Again, your fingers will probably be moving, but don't worry about it. Just see if you can kind of organize within the palm, within the center of the hand, the movement. Those fingers coming towards each other and coming apart, separating and coming apart. So this is very soft work. It's like almost like you're learning about yourself in a way that maybe you haven't before. Good. And then once you've done it a few times with the ring finger, move on to the ball of the middle finger. The ball of the middle finger, the biggest one generally, and see if you can bring that towards the ball of the thumb. And just make that movement a few times using the palm rather than the fingers. And maybe you can imagine as you're doing it, as you're doing this movement, that the kind of bones that are underneath the process, the bones that kind of exist down at the root of the fingers, and how they are capable of moving themselves. Good. And once you've done that a few times, change over and do the index finger. Just do the index finger a few times. And once you've done it, I want to introduce a mental image. A mental image. So this is just to kind of get you familiar with the feeling or the sensation that the palm itself can be active, can be dynamic, and it can be active. And if you think about the permutations of, putting weight on it and changing position like we do with our feet, the ankles need to be very adjustable. The sole of the foot needs to be very flexible in the way that it responds to the ground beneath us. The palm and the fingers have that capability as well. Good. So the mental image I'd like to offer to you. So if you just rest for a moment, let go of the activity. The mental image I'd like to offer to you is that instead of having a big hand, you've got a small hand within your big hand. In one of the lessons that I've done previously, one of the lessons that I've learned previously, they talk about the big pelvis and the little pelvis. The big pelvis being the kind of the upper ring of the pelvis, and the small pelvis being the inner ring of the pelvis. So we're in this lesson, we're having a big hand, which has all your palm and your fingers, and then a small hand, which has just the palm area. And what I want you to do is imagine that you've got fingers and they stop at the palm area, okay? So it's like you've got the root of the hand and then little fingers that stop at the palm area. And then what I want you to do is very gently, using that image, go through one by one, moving the little finger, the small little finger a few times. So that's wiggling the base of the little finger, this kind of like small finger that stops. So imagine your fingers kind of stop at this point. I can't show you that. So if your fingers or your hand was the size of the palm, and then just very gently wiggle that part of you, and imagine that it's a finger. Use your imagination, use the movement. Imagine that you're wiggling your the small little finger within the palm. That's a better, the hand within the palm. That's a nice way of describing it. Good. And then once you've done it a few times, move over and do the ring finger and just wiggle that small ring finger within the palm. And you can play with tempo, you could play with kind of strength of the movement. I think it's quite nice as you're learning to keep it soft and subtle, but it's not an issue to have a little bit of tempo occasionally, just to kind of, can you feel that movement? If you do it a little faster, if you do it a little slower. And then move on to kind of tapping or wiggling the middle finger within the palm. Good. Do that a couple of times. Just kind of, use that image, use that mental image as a way of articulating these particular areas of the palm. And then when you've done that a few times, move on to the pointing finger, the first finger within the palm. If we were really being sort of funky, we would start kind of turning the fingers like we were doing yesterday in the lesson. But let's just keep it as you're wiggling them kind of forwards and backwards. Good. And then when you've done that one a few times, just move on to the thumb. Move on to the thumb within the palm. Good. And once you've got all of your small fingers within the palm involved, see if you can begin to do the bell hand movement that we did at the beginning of the lesson, drawing the fingers together, but just with the palm area in mind. So the small fingers within the palm coming together, seeing if they can coordinate in such a way that they all come together at the same time. The small fingers within the palm, the first finger, second finger, third, fourth, and the thumb, all coming together at the same time. Good. And as you continue to do that, you feel that sense of the palm receding, the small fingers within the palm coming together, and then the palm opening out, and the small fingers within the palm opening away from each other. See if you can, as you come into opening away from each other, see if you can just lift the wrist a tiny amount. Lift the wrist a tiny amount. And as you draw the small fingers within the palm back together, see if you can press the wrist down a small amount so that you begin to involve the bones at the bottom of the hand that join in with the wrist. So as you open the palm, you lift the wrist slightly in the air, if your arm is resting on your lap. And as you close the hand together, the small fingers together, the fingers within the palm, see if you can push the wrist very gently down into the ground. So now you're kind of working the base of the hand, and you might feel some cracking in your wrist. Again, we're just going to do one side today. So if you want to repeat this on the other side, the lesson is available for replay. However, it's sometimes really nice to leave the contrast for a bit so that you can really sense the difference that the lesson has made to one side of you. That sense of contrast can give you a very clear picture of what you were doing before and what you were doing after, and maybe a sense of the direction that you would like to head in. Okay, so take a little rest from that. Take a little rest. See if you feel that, in some way you're developing this softness in the palm. If you think of the image of the bird being in the palm and being able to be sensitive enough to feel when the bird is pushing off, that you just recede the palm a little and then coming back out and opening as the bird has stopped its push. Just have that image in mind as you just go through the movement. Maybe you can involve the fingers again now. Opening all the fingers. Again, you can let the wrist raise a little and then drop a little, push into the thigh and raise a little as you open the fingers and drop a little. And just see if you can kind of get this whole movement, this whole chain of the wrist, the bones that join the wrist and the hand together, and the metacarpals and the carpals themselves, the finger bones, all together, all happening together, opening and closing. And your hand is resting on your thigh, very nice and comfortable. Opening, lifting the wrist slightly, extending the fingers out, thinking about the small fingers within the palm and the big fingers, the big actual fingers, that they're happening together. And you can feel that, if you do any computer work or you've got some issues with your wrist, you can feel that this really gets into those joints, the joints between the small bones of the wrist, and gives you a sense that maybe your palm could be more capable and your sense of taking weight on your hand could be more capable. A lot of people get pain there if they take way too long in their hands. This might be a nice way of working with that. Okay, and rest. Maybe notice your breathing. Has anything changed in your own sense of rhythm? If I come back to my quote, happiness is not a matter of intensity, but of balance, order, rhythm, and harmony. So I wonder if in some way finding some balance, order, rhythm, and harmony within our hand can give us an overall different sense of happiness. Maybe is too strong a word, but a change in our emotional state as well. So I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear from you generally. If you want to chat to me, drop me a message. If you've got questions about the Feldenkrais method of Qigong, just drop me a message. You can do that via my Facebook page or my personal account. You can catch the replays. On my community group or on my YouTube channel. I'm at almost 80 subscribers now. I need 20 more to hit 100. When I hit 100, I get a custom URL. That probably doesn't mean anything to anyone else, but it's something that I would like. And yeah, that's it really, I think. One more lesson tomorrow. I haven't actually come up with the lesson yet. And then I'm thinking of moving on next week onto the eyes and how the eyes are used. I think that these two subjects, they go really well together, the hands and the eyes. And obviously we're using both of them a lot if we're doing computer work or we're sitting in front of the screen a lot at the moment. So the hands and the eyes are a pretty good combo in perspective. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you feel more relaxed, maybe even slightly happier than the beginning of the lesson. And I will be back tomorrow, 11 o'clock in the morning UK time. And yeah, that's it. Have a lovely day. Take care. See you tomorrow.